Well, first of all, I thought we should get rid of the SEC for a long time. So it's not simply the fact that they approved Bitcoin ETF. And, I have no problem with the ETF itself. But if the SEC is pretending that it's some kind of a watchdog and trying to make sure that investors don't get hurt, it makes no sense that they would approve this ETF, because ultimately the ETF is going to collapse to zero and the people who are left holding the bag are going to get wiped out. And so it doesn't make sense for the SEC to effectively bless the whole idea about gambling on Bitcoin.
And this Bitcoin futures ETF is a bit different than if it were just a Bitcoin ETF, right? I mean, sometimes these ETFs, you actually hold what's in the fund, whereas since this is a future, you don't really own any Bitcoin. Is that part of your concern?
Right. So instead of owning nothing, you own a futures contract to gamble on nothing. Because all of these futures contracts settle in cash. They don't settle in Bitcoin. But even when you own Bitcoin, you don't really own anything. You just own a digital string of numbers. It doesn't have any actual value other than the fact that people are willing to buy it. And why are they willing to buy it? Because they think they can sell it to somebody else at a higher price. And the only reason that somebody else will buy it is because they think some other fool will pay an even higher price. So what it really is a digital pyramid scheme. But eventually it's going to collapse, and the SEC should not be encouraging people to participate in that type of a scheme.
It seemed early on that Bitcoin was designed to be a currency, right? It was a cryptocurrency, so that if I wanted to send money to somebody maybe in a third world country, it was difficult for me to just do it through banks and wire transfers and Western Union. And if we all just agreed that Bitcoin had a value, I could do it from my phone to their phone, and they could take that Bitcoin to the grocery store and they could buy food for their family. And now it seems like more and more people are just buying it at one price and hoping it goes up so they could sell it at another. They're not really using it to buy anything. I think at one point, Peter, you could even buy a Tesla with Bitcoin.
Well, that was more of a marketing gimmick for Tesla. But sure, the original concept was that these tokens would be used as currencies. But again, the problem is the idea that if we just believe it has value, it will have value. That can only work for a short period of time, or maybe in Bitcoin's case for several years. But eventually people stop believing in these fantasies and everything crashes. But the other problem with Bitcoin is that it's very inefficient to try to use it as a medium of exchange or a unit of account. So the real use for Bitcoin is to gamble. People don't buy it because they want to use it as a medium of exchange. They buy it because they want to hold on to it, watch the price go up, maybe eventually sell it to somebody else. But right now, most people are just holding on to it. And as the price goes up, they think they're a lot richer, but nothing has actually changed. They just own the same Bitcoin they owned before. They just think it's worth a lot of money because they haven't actually tried to get out. But if a lot of the people who have been holding on to Bitcoin try to actually realize their gains and go buy some actual products, some goods and services with their fake money, all of that paper profit is going to vanish because the bottom will drop out of the market.
Yeah, of course, you only make a profit once you sell the asset or once you sell the Bitcoin. Talk a little bit about how people are comparing Bitcoin also to maybe gold. The idea is that if you own Bitcoin, you have some kind of an asset that you can then rely on later. And then there are some people who are looking at the gold market. I mean, the price of gold has stayed essentially the same. It's gone up and down, but over the past 10 years, it's stayed essentially the same, where we all know what has happened to Bitcoin. I mean, boy, if you had bought some of that 10 years ago, or even just a month ago, I mean, you'd be doing pretty well.
Yeah, well, in reality, Bitcoin is nothing like gold. It's really the opposite of gold. But they try to depict Bitcoin as if it were gold, because when you look at a physical representation of Bitcoin, it's a coin with a golden color with a big B on it. But Bitcoin doesn't have any actual substance. It's certainly not a coin. They pretend that you create them by mining them the way you mine gold, but there's no mining involved. You're just solving a math problem. And so that's not mining. But I think the idea is that people want to market it as a substitute for gold. It's really fool's gold. It's not actual gold. And sure, the price has gone up, But, you know, the price of anything can go up if enough people want to buy it. That doesn't mean it's gold. Now, gold, sure, gold has been stable for the past 10 years, but the 10 years prior to that, gold went from under 300 in 2001 to 1900 in 2011. That's a very big 10-year move. In fact, if you look at where the price of gold is today relative to 2001, it's actually outperformed the S&P. So we had a big move, then we consolidated for a while. I think the price of gold is about to move into another spectacular rise, and maybe that'll take some of the wind out of the Bitcoin sail, because one of the ways they've been touting Bitcoin is by comparing it to gold, even though the two have nothing in common. But I think once the gold price really starts to reflect all the inflation that the Fed and other central banks have been creating, then maybe people will stop believing in fool's gold and look to buy the real thing.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.